So here we are. And let's get started here. But a very lively thing this week in the comments. Lots of questions. Let's see here. Comments. Feel free to ask questions. Anybody who might be here. Let's see here. So we had one question. I posted a video a while ago talking about the a bit about the Z and voiced TH. If you go from Z voiced TH, the Z will basically take over the TH sound. It doesn't have to, but it's a common thing that happens, especially in fast speech. So, and it was specifically, we were talking about like raised that and how the D might kind of just disappear, say raise that kid. Or no, sorry, not raised that, raise that. There we go. Hello, Rodrigo. I'm doing well. How are you? Let me know if you have any questions. So we had some questions related to that on the video. Somebody was asking for like, is this, was the, is there, all these combinations. Those also do the same thing. So yeah. And this person said, I think it was Grace. Yeah, Grace said that that when she pronounces them without the th, it sounds awkward. So it could be that maybe you don't do it right. That's always possible, but if you drop the th in these cases, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, Rodrigo, you have a question, and hello, Lily. Thanks for joining us. We're off to a good start so far. Okay, is it common to say another 5 minutes or another 12 months? If so, why is the word another used there? Isn't that only used with singular? Good question. Yeah. No. Because, okay, there's two ways to look at this. All right, if I say, I want another one. Okay, so let's say I have a sandwich, and I'm still hungry, so I want another sandwich, right? I want another one. Okay, good. So that's perfectly fine. That's probably what you learned. That's very basic, right? You have, and it makes sense because an plus other, right? That's why we say another, because it used to be two words and it became one word. But you can have another of one thing, or you can have another group, because a group is also one thing, but inside the group there are multiple things, right? So if I say another minute, well, that means one more minute. If I say another 5 minutes, meaning all 5 minutes is one group, right? And I want that amount of time, 5 minutes. So it's one thing. So I want five. So I spent 5 minutes, and then I spend another 5 minutes, and then I spend another 5 minutes, right? Same thing, 12 months. So 12 months is a year. So you can even say another year, another 12 months. It doesn't matter. And if you have another year, you can add another 12 months as one unit, right? So that's all that's happening there. So technically, it looks like it's being used with the plural in these cases, and technically it is because it's 5 minutes, but we're thinking of it as that plural is one group. So that's why that works. But good question. Yeah. Lily, have you ever heard about a mind palace? Yes, I have. If yes, how can we apply it to language learning? So two P's in apply. Might be a typo, but um, and we'd probably say here, have you ever heard about like a mind palace or the concept of? That would be the clearest way to say it. But if you say a mind palace, that would be okay. Um, yeah, so a mind palace is a memory technique. I studied a bit about different memory techniques and stuff when I was first teaching myself Spanish because I was looking at all kinds of different things. And I don't remember too much specifically about a mind palace. I think because the word palace always threw me off. If I remember right, for example, you can take like your house or whatever, and you're going to give a speech. Maybe I'm confusing mind palace for something else, but I'm pretty sure this is the same thing because I remember the concept, but I don't know if this was the term for it. So say you're going to give a speech and there's certain points in your speech and you can imagine walking through your house, right? And like at the front door, it's the start of your speech and you tie certain information in your mind to imagining you're at your front door. And then as you walk down the hall and you pass this room, there's another part of the speech in your mind. And so as you mentally go through your house, it helps you remember all the parts of your speech in a particular order. Um, so how can you apply it to language learning? Off the top of my head, I don't know because I never tried to apply this to language learning. There's a guy. What is he? I think it's Anthony Metivier. If I remember right, Anthony Metivier, magnetic memory. Pretty sure that's right. Yeah. Um, so this guy talks a lot about uh, different techniques like this and using mind palaces and blah 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 blah. He has some free stuff. He has some paid stuff. He has a free course actually. It looks like here on his website. And I heard about him through language learning. I think him and Luca Lampariello, if I remember. I think they had like a conversation or something. But and they talked about how to use it specifically for language learning. It might have been with Benny Lewis. I'm not sure. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Um, so I would just check that out because that's going to be a much better source than me. Because I never really cared to apply it to languages. But David, welcome to another stream. Glad to see you here again. I'm doing fine. How are you? Steve, I saw some things. Oh, sometimes I read weird. I saw some things. Oh, that's why. Um, so this is something. This is some things. You need the space. um, something is never going to be plural. We might contract is something is and say somethings, but it's not going to be. It's never going to be some things with just an s. Anyway, I saw some things that got me confused. So, are there nasal vowels in English or not? Well, tell me what you saw, because I might have an idea of why you're confused, but it would help if, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking about for that, but it would definitely help if you let me know the examples of what you've found or whatever. Officially, English has no nasal vowels, officially, right? But there's a lot of things that officially don't exist in English that happen all the time. Hello, Oblivion. Welcome to chat. Um, got some questions again. Good. Well, let me have them. We're off to a really good start. It hasn't even been 10 minutes, and we're already just filling up the chat. This is like never happened before. It's amazing. Are you still learning Spanish? I haven't been learning Spanish for a while, like probably 3 years, 2 years at least. I still listen to it. I occasionally still speak it because it's around here, but my Spanish has gotten really, really rusty, and it's bad. I need to go back to it, but um, there are reasons why I haven't been language learning over the last couple of years, and I'm going to get back to it, just not right now. But anyway, so yeah, Steve, if you can give me some examples, we'll definitely come back to it. But what I'll say for now is I've noticed, and not necessarily everybody speaks this way. I don't know how common it is, but I've noticed it in my speech. I've noticed it if I listen closely to at least some other people. So I think it is a pretty normal thing. Um, so, for example, the words don't and won't. These are very, very special cases. Okay, like this is why we don't officially have nasal vowels, but there are times that I've noticed some very specific special cases where it's okay to use a nasal vowel for a special reason. Also, uh, can't would be another one. So don't, won't, and can't. Especially don't and won't. Can't is a little bit tricky and it's a little bit different, but with don't and won't, we have a little trick that we can do. So if I say like, I don't like it, I'm not capitalizing anything. Or is my shift key dying? Okay, anyway, that. If I say I don't like it, okay, so I can say very clearly I don't like it. Okay, we're probably not going to say it that way unless you're emphasizing don't. But that would be with a full T and N, everything. There's no nasal there. It's don't. Okay. Now I could also say I don't like it. Don't. There might be a little bit of a nasal there. It's okay, but we still have the T. It's a stop T. But we can do another thing. We can say I don't like it. I don't like it. And what we're doing there is I'm not doing a T. T is completely gone. I'm not even doing an N. I'm not bringing my tongue up into the N at all. What I'm doing is especially in fast speech, where it's not really easily noticeable, I'm saying, I'm not saying dough with an O sound. It's still an O sound, but I'm making a nasal. And when we hear that nasal O instead of dough, it's don, kind of French maybe, I guess. Then it creates the illusion that the N is there, because we expect the N to be there. If it were positive, it would be do with an oo sound, right? So it sort of tricks the brain. If you do a little bit of a nasal, even though there's no N there, it sounds like there's an N, and then of course the T just drops away. So you can say that. You can say, I don't like it. I don't like it. But if you do it very slowly and clearly, it's going to sound kind of weird, especially because the reasons to slow down would usually be like emphasis, or you're speaking really clearly, in which case that N is going to come back. That T, at least as a stop, is going to come back. So it's really for like normal to fast speed speech. Same thing with won't. If you say I won't see him, you can say I won't see him. I won't see him. I won't see him. I won't see him. It's perfectly fine. Okay, so before I get too far behind here, Oblivion. So I noticed that I tend to lengthen sounds instead of using pitch, I guess, and pitch, I guess, and it is less consistent. I think we need a verb there. Also, I've noticed that I don't really pay attention to stress and stuff. That might not. I can't read today. That might be one of the problems with my accent, I guess. Possibly. So for just at this point here, really quick, when we stress sounds, so you say that you notice that you don't really pay attention to stress. But remember, in English, of course, if we do have a stressed syllable, it will be longer. So that's good. But we're also going to raise the pitch. We're going to make it louder, longer, and have a higher pitch. Generally, and there's ways that we can maybe detach the pitch a little bit, to make it even higher than just the regular stress itself. But that gets into really subtle technicalities of intonation. We don't have to worry about that. So lengthening is good, but instead of using pitch, you should also be using pitch. They go together in English. Um, I pay attention more to it now, but it's still around the same and confuses the hell out of me. So, also, I don't think your tips from the last stream really helped me. I tried to though. Okay. Yeah, I don't even remember the last stream really. It's been this week has been so crazy and so fast yet so long seeming. It feels like it's been 2 or 3 weeks since I've done a live stream, even though it was just last week. So I don't even remember. I remember David was there because David recently came back, and that's kind of all I remember. Let's see. Yeah, so hmm, I don't know. I'm going to be making a video really soon about pronunciation and thought chunking. That might be something that could really help you, especially in conjunction with the other videos that I've made about rhythm. I assume you've already watched those. If you haven't, then definitely watch those because that will talk about the louder and longer, shorter and quieter, you know, and the pitch is also part of that. So yeah, I've noticed a lot of the more advanced students that I work with. Like they have like pretty good flowing speech. Maybe their sounds are pretty good, or they can at least like do the sounds if they really want, like if they really focus on it. Um, Usually, if their native language isn't stress timed, then focusing specifically on the rhythm and not worrying too much about the sounds for a while will provide you with some really good results. Because that's probably what's happening, and it's something that you might think you're noticing, but you're not. You really have to go in and pay very close attention, and you might notice things that you never noticed before, but you really have to dig into it. Um, so okay. Um, Steve, can you check this out? Video nasalizing vowels and dropping nasal consonants from Accent Help. It's not a long video and you don't need to watch it till the end. Okay, so let's take a quick look at this nasalizing vowels and dropping nasal consonants. Yeah, I'm aware of that channel. Um, Seems like a pretty interesting channel, but I haven't seen this particular video. Oh, he doesn't have a beard in this one. I think he hasn't shaved for like, I don't know, 5 years or something. Or I guess this is only 3 years old, so I guess he started growing his beard at this point. I see. Okay. Yeah, it looks like there's lots of really useful information in there, and I wanna go through that whole thing to really get a grasp of what he's talking about there before I comment on it. So um, I'll look at that for next time. Um, and I know you have to wait a week to get an answer. But what he seems to be describing there, like say if you have what was it like an M before ah or something like that, then can you get a little bit of nasal? Those are things that can probably happen. Um, like we know, for example, with like in the word man, right? Um, we commonly know that usually ah, right? Many teachers talk about this. The ah, if it's followed by like an N sound, it's gonna like change the sound a little bit. And I have my explanation for that and how it's not actually changing necessarily, but it can get a bit nasally in there. Now, it's not going to be like Portuguese. Like, you're not going to say like man, ma, or I don't even know if that's right. That sounds weird to me, but like ma, it's not going to be full nasal. It's still going to be primarily through the mouth. Even with what I was talking about before, like saying don't, I don't want to. It's going to start from the mouth. It's going to be kind of primarily coming through the mouth, but there's going to be more nasal than usually happens in an English vowel. And I don't think it's going to be 100% nasally in most cases. So anyway, I'll watch that video for next time and we can talk about that again later. But the short answer to your question is technically, yes, there can be some nasality in vowels at certain times. Um, that'll be the short answer. Can you do the nasal thing for every vowel? Con pen man. Can we, or are we supposed to? um, I would say no. I mean, man, as I just said, with pen. See, pen, 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 pet, pen, pet, pen, pen. There's not really anything there. Pen, 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 pen. Yeah, if I get kind of lazy, maybe if I'm not like saying the word super clearly, I notice that back flap can open a little bit more. But again, most of the sound is coming through the mouth. Um, and that goes back to my normal explanation of ah followed by like n for man, for example. It's not that the sound itself is changing, like the sound is the same. It's just that I think when we're getting ready for the n or maybe the m or whatever it is, we have a tendency, especially if we're not speaking super clearly, um, we have a tendency to kind of maybe relax that flap back there. And so you'll get, technically, if you listen really closely, you're going to get a little bit of a sound that has just a little bit of like a nasal leak to it. Um, and I wouldn't classify that necessarily as like a nasal sound, but um, there's a little bit of nasality to it, or there can be, I suppose. I don't know about for every single vowel, um, but I would assume that a little bit of nasal leakage or whatever, which sounds weird, um, could always be possible if we're not clearly enunciating the words. So, Oblivion, I guess I have to work more with lexical and sentence stress. Maybe I'll improve, but I still kind of suck. Maybe, yeah. I'm going to be talking a lot more about word stress versus sentence stress, and I actually haven't talked a whole lot about sentence level stress yet. Um, but it's coming. I know I have so many videos. Like I literally have like 100 videos that I need to make. So, um, YNW Melly. Welcome to the chat. How to pronounce the TH sound at the end of words. Make sure I didn't skip anything. Oh, yeah. The end of words. Month. Okay, at the end of the words, because the specific words and then examples. So at the end of the words, month, mouth, both, bath, smooth. Good question. So in the case of month, which I've talked about numerous times so far, but that's okay. It's a common question. Um, you can clearly enunciate and say month, month, month. Switch from the slide from the end to the th, or you can do month, 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 which is a nice easy way that we do it, where we do the dental t because it's a voiceless th. And we'll do the dental T variation, which is not informal. It's very common. I've talked about that in several lessons before. Watch the TH lesson if you haven't already. But you can just, instead of going here and sliding into the TH, just go here for the N and then just release the T there. It's a dental T. It's not a normal English T. Month, month. Sounds perfectly fine. That's a variation on how to do it. Mouth. So there's no N here. We're not. You could do the dental T. That's fine. Mouth, mouth, mouth. Or you say mouth, more clearly enunciated. That's fine. Either way is fine. There's no problem. It's voiceless also. With both, so the word both is kind of special because what I've noticed, I do this too, but I've noticed a lot of speakers, sometimes it'll come out as both with an O sound, and sometimes it'll come out as both with an L colored O sound. So it'll be kind of like this, both. Both pronunciations are perfectly fine. There's no problem with it. Um, and again, you can use that dental T variation for the voiceless TH, both, both, both. No problem. And I want to say, let's see, what if I do full zip, full zippers, full zippers, full zippers, full zippers? Yeah. I was trying to see if you could do the THs voiced there, because on some words, the ending TH can be voiced or voiceless, like with, it really doesn't matter. It'll usually just depend on the sound after it, if it's voiced or not, but you can do voiced or voiceless and with. With bath, okay, now this is important. So there's bath, which is a voiceless TH, and nice, a very good, clear way to say it is bath. It can always come out that way. Of course, you can again do that dental T variation, bath, bath. I'm going to take a bath, no problem. And then there's the verb, which is to bathe, okay, spelled with an E at the end. The vowel changes from A to A, and the TH turns into a voiced TH. There's certain verb noun pairs, very limited group, but there's certain verb noun pairs that will do that. They'll add a silent E and change the TH to a voiced version. So bath and bathe, bathe. I'm going to bathe. You can do a dental D there also. I'm going to bathe, bathe. But bathe is not a very common word, so it's probably going to be a normal TH there. And then smooth is actually a voiced TH. This is the only one in this group that is actually a voiced TH, so it's going to be smooth. And you could do a dental D there. Technically, you can say smooth, smooth. But as I talked about in the extra practice lesson for the THs, it was the voiceless and the voiced, two different lessons. I also gave you examples for, in the voiceless extra practice, the dental T, and in the voiced extra practice, the dental D. And I noted that at the end of words, although possible, usually we don't just change to that dental T or dental D version when it's at the end, unless it connects over to something. In the case of month, that N before it makes it not only possible, but very likely that we're just going to do the dental there because of the N before it. But if I say, for example, my mouth is, right? My mouth is, mouth is, mouth is. Okay, I can do it that way. That's fine. It connects over to the vowel. But if I just say like, oh, I hurt my mouth. I hurt my mouth. Mouth. You could do I'm going to hurt my mouth, but it's probably going to come out more as a TH. We don't tend to do it in isolation at the end of a word. So short, easy answer, month, mouth, both, bath, smooth, voiced at the end. That would be the short, simple answer there, but there are variations. Okay. I am so far behind already, guys. Jeez. I gotta go faster. Okay. I guess it's like an imitating, but it kind of works out in a way sometimes. What I noticed in recordings is that my friend has a consistency to his vowels, and they seem to be of a higher pitch, but I just drag words out and it still seems to be relatively flat, unlike his recordings where I notice primary and secondary stress in sentences. Well, that's a good point to start with, yeah. That might be it. But my recordings are kind of like, don't worry, Rodrigo, I see you there. But my recordings are kind of like almost flat, and words seem to be longer. Okay. Oh, I see. I see what's happening probably. I didn't watch those ones because most of them weren't in English, so it was like not really helpful. Sorry. For me, it's not really the pronunciation, it's all the accent. I know one stress time language, but it's kind of weird. So, well, okay, because I mentioned, right, to watch like the rhythm lessons. I'm talking about the main rhythm lessons that aren't like, it's not comparing languages. I have, I think, 2 or 3 main rhythm lessons that talk about like the one of them is an example lesson, but not between languages, just in English. There's the core, the first big rhythm lesson that I made, which talks about, louder and longer, shorter and quieter, like the core rhythm of English and how that's different from syllable time languages. If you haven't seen that one, definitely you want to watch that one. But also the reason why I made the comparison lesson, that big comparison lesson where we had, what was it, like 10 sentences compared against like 8 different languages or something like that. You might think on the surface that something like that wouldn't be very useful for you. And maybe for some people, like if you just really hate it and you get really bored by it, then I guess it's not for you. But the goal of that, it's not about the other languages. It's to use, right, you hear all these other languages constantly compared to English, and through that contrast, you start to be able to hear and get a feel for English rhythm. Um, and to some extent stress. And so the other languages are actually just there for comparison, and it's not about the other languages. It's all about English. But anyway, you don't have to watch that if you don't want to. And then the other ones, like the big interview ones, you definitely don't have to watch those. Those are just, I figured I'd make videos out of those because I was doing the interviews for the other like comparison lesson. So you can ignore those if you want. Um, but there's one lesson where it directly compares a bunch of languages. That one is useful. Blah, blah, blah. Now you say that your recordings are kind of like almost flat and words seem to be longer. That is a very clear indication to me that you're using syllable stress. Or something that is not stress timed. Um, so, because I noticed that from a lot of syllable timed language speakers that I've worked with, right? In fact, I can go into Spanish. I never really knew about rhythm when I was learning Spanish, so I kind of use like an English rhythm. But if I consciously, like if I say, instead of saying quiero ir a la playa, right? That's kind of like an English rhythm. Quiero ir a la playa. Da, 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 da. And there's stress there. But all I have to do is kind of consciously try to lengthen out each syllable so that it's about the same instead of trying to make the unstressed ones shorter and the stressed ones longer. And it immediately improves my Spanish rhythm. So, and it's kind of tricky for me to do because I haven't practiced it much. But if I say like, quiero ir a la playa, quiero ir a la playa, instead of quiero ir a la playa, quiero ir a la playa, quiero ir a la playa. So I'm still going up on the stresses, but I'm kind of just making everything about the same length and I'm flattening it out. And that's more of a syllable time. In stress time, you can't do that. You have to make the unstressed syllables not just not longer, but you have to make them shorter. You have to intentionally make them shorter. So there's not really any like middle length. There's like a short length and a long length, and that's how stress timing works. So when I say I want to go to the beach, I want. Right? It's not I want. I wanna go to the wanna go. I wanna go to the, I wanna go to the, okay, go to the beach. I wanna go to the beach. I wanna go to the beach. I wanna go to the beach. Not, I wanna go to the beach. Okay, even if I keep the reductions and everything, but I flatten it out, it sounds a bit weird. Um, so pay attention to that if you haven't been paying attention to that. And then secondary stress can also help you as well. You mentioned that. Okay, Rodrigo, is he got there yesterday night? Yesterday night. Is he got there yesterday at night? Correct. If so, would you say he got there last night? Has the same meaning. He got there yesterday at night. He got there. He got there yesterday night. He got there yesterday at night. I mean, you could say that, yeah, but if it's night and it's yesterday, we're almost guaranteed to say last night. That's how we say it. Um, but I can imagine like if you're saying like, oh, he got there, like you're trying to think, okay, so like when did he get there? Well, he got there yesterday at night, so he's probably still sleeping right now, because it's the early morning. Okay, whatever it is, I don't know. So you could form that sentence, but we're very likely to just say he got there last night. Um, but the meaning there technically would be the same. There's no problem there. Okay. David, I did some research on just solely and just sanguinis. I have no idea to say that. Out of personal interest, and I was curious what the most instinctive way of pronouncing these is for you. Well, as I just said, just solely and just sanguinis. See, you can't trust my like how I would naturally try to pronounce something that is foreign or strange, or if it's just like a word that I really don't know. Because most likely I'm going to follow a lot of the same ways that any native would try to pronounce it. But because I do have exposure to some other languages and to different dialects and stuff. Um, like if I see an E, or sorry, not an E. If I see, my brain is already mixed up. If I see the letter I and it's in another language, especially if it seems like it's Latin or something, um, my brain is immediately going to associate that letter I with the sound E, just like a Spanish speaker would. Um, where an English speaker might not do that. Like it might come out as E, or it might come out as like or something. Um, so yeah, but how I would say like just solely or just sanguinis. Maybe sanguinis, I'm not sure, but sanguinis. Yeah. In that case, I could possibly do but that's solely for sure. Like I wouldn't say just sole. Anyway, uh, I have no idea what that is, by the way. So whatever. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but I hear a sort of nasal sound when someone is speaking ebonics in words. Wait, in words, time, and sound. Okay, in the words, right? Specific words in the words. Time and sound. And hello, Shunshin. Welcome to the chat. I'm a little behind, as you can see, if you're still here. Um, I wouldn't know. I'm not an Ebonics expert. Um, I mean, I hear people speak that way sometimes, but I don't really like pay close attention to the exact details of what they're pronouncing, especially if it comes to nasality. So it could be. Um, let's see. Rhythm is confusing. It makes sense, but hard to use. Even though I've gone through many guides and it's relatively all the same, and it doesn't get me anywhere afterwards. Well, I'm also partially trying to solve that. Um, I mean, I didn't know that was a specific problem, but I assumed that people have problems with things, and everybody's a little bit different. But um, I think one of the big problems I'm running into this a lot with like programming examples because I'm programming the ear trainer right now, which is coming along fantastic, by the way. It's functioning, it's working. I'm adding more features to it, basic features to it. But anyway, I noticed that like anytime you try to learn something, especially if it's a little more niche, like rhythm, right? And many English teachers, many language teachers in general, but especially English teachers, are very guilty of this. Um, where things can get overly technical, they'll use terminology that, I mean, yeah, is accurate. It's maybe useful in some way, but for the average learner who's just trying to like figure out, okay, what do I need to do for rhythm? It gives you a bunch of nonsense, basically, a bunch of jargon, and it just makes it harder to understand. So part of my purpose is to minimize the use of overly technical words as much as possible, and to describe things in a different way that actually is easier and makes more sense, and to cut through all the technical BS, as I like to call it. Which I know some people hate that because it's like, well, it's technically correct, so that's how it should be, and that's how it should be taught. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, that's fine. It's technically correct, but that doesn't mean that it's useful for the average learner. It might be useful for a linguist, but it's not necessarily useful for the average learner. Um, so anyway, I don't know. Um, I can maybe try to address that more in the future. Um, but as I said, I'm going to be making a thought chunking video, and that might help bring things together for you. I don't know. But anyway, Shun Shun says true. I have no idea about what because that was a while ago. Do you have Netflix? I'd like to ask something about some show if you do. Technically, my roommate has Netflix and I can use it. I don't have Netflix, but yeah, I mean, you can ask me something about a show. I wouldn't be able to pull it up here because I don't have it set up on my computer to like log in and all that stuff. But yeah, you can ask me what it is and I'll look at it later. Let's see here. Okay, so I caught up to my comment there. I did watch the main ones made by you without collabs. I was like, yep, nodding. That's it. I kind of notice it and get it, but it doesn't work out practically. Okay. Um, so it's hard. Um, Even for me, with my bit of talent, um, it can be very hard and very strange. Because as I said, like in Spanish, I never knew about rhythm. I never really paid attention to the rhythm. I was really focused on the sounds, and to some extent on the stress. But the stress in Spanish is super, super consistent. And if it's not, they mark it, and then you just memorize that, and it's not a big deal. You really get a feel for the Spanish stress. But the rhythm, the actual like length of it, if it's something that you haven't really done before, or if it's something that maybe you've done but not for a stress time language, or I don't know, whatever, then maybe it's just English specifically is kind of weird. Then I know that you're noticing things, and I'm not saying this is the problem, but based on my experience with some students, try to pay even more attention and try to listen to, which I'm sure you're doing, right? When you listen to recordings of your friend, or you're listening to a podcast, or you're watching TV, or whatever it is, take some time to specifically really focus on just the rhythm. Maybe even take some recordings, put them into Audacity, slow them down a little bit. You don't want to slow them down too much because it's going to start to break the rhythm. But um, and I know maybe you've done these things before. So again, I'm not saying this is the problem, but I've had a number of students who, they thought that they were noticing things, and then when they took a really even closer look, like really super thorough, especially working with Audacity, um, and then on top of that, maybe comparing themselves, specifically looking at the rhythm, which I know I kind of talked a bit about that last time. They started to notice things that they never noticed before. So maybe that's not the problem for you based on what you're describing, but it like I can't tell, right? Because if you're not noticing it, you think you're noticing it, well, like I'd have to like listen to what you're listening to and then listen to you, and then I'd have to like work with you directly to see, like, make sure that you're actually noticing the things that are there. Um, so yeah, but it is naturally a tough thing. The rhythm can be very, very difficult. It's not just like stress. Like stress is relatively easy. You speak louder, but okay. So David says, as a person with a cut merger, I assume that's back to that example. I see, because I was talking about like the E and stuff. Just solely, yeah, I wouldn't say solely. That's very strange. And sanguinous, I would not use an ah in any part in any of those words. um, Again, maybe that's a little bit of Spanish influence in a way, but Ramon Hilario, welcome to the chat. This is a sound, wait, or Z sounds. The question could be formulated a little bit better there, but I think you're asking, so like are the S's S sounds or Z sounds? So in the word this, it's an S sound. In the word is, it's a Z sound. One of the biggest minor mistakes that even very, very advanced speakers make is they don't make is into a Z. They'll say it as an S, and that'll give you away as a non-native like immediately. If like if everything else is perfect. Actually, somebody asked me about a Polish speaker the other day. They sent me a link to a YouTube video. Said that he's a Polish speaker, but he wanted to know if I thought this guy could pass as a native. And I was listening to him, and this dude is like 99.999% perfect. The rhythm, the stress, the sounds. Like if I wasn't paying attention, like really close attention to exactly how he's sounding, I may not have even noticed Or I might have thought, well, maybe there's a little bit of regional difference that I'm kind of noticing something. But because I know he's from Poland, since this person told me that, and I was listening very closely, I noticed that anytime he said is, he said is instead. And then he never used a stop at the end. So he would actually pronounce a weak version of, like, instead of saying like, he would say like, and he actually push out or think instead of think. Um, so little tiny details like that will give you away if somebody's paying attention, even if everything else is perfect. But yeah, this is, so S and then a Z. They're not really. Oh wait, did I already talk about that? Yeah, I looked at that one. I think. Wait, hold on. Oh yeah, okay. They're not really totally flat. You can see the contrast and even hear it, but it's sometimes weak or just sounds odd. I don't think it totally sounds flat, but yeah, it's weird. I agree with you about that. Okay. Again, talking about the rhythm. I'm kind of like going in and out of a conversation. um, good. Shun Shun. Q, as in question. Q for question. I don't know. Sesame Street. Um, do you think there is which we say an, right? Because it's right? There's a vowel after it, so we say an, but we can break that. It's okay. Do you think there is a sound after the vowel e? Oh God. Okay, hold on. I have to go on a little IPA rant here. Let's see. Yeah, I am. Okay, so you're looking at the dictionary, I assume, and you look at the IPA, which I tell you to ignore for various reasons, and you see something like this. This is part of the reason why I tell you not to care about the IPA. Because it's very confusing like this. I'm sure maybe there are some speakers who pronounce it that way. It's extremely strange to me. If I were to try to say that the way that it's transcribed, um, especially because it's supposed to be an e, not an e, it'd be like hair, 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 hair. Like what are you saying? Um, Now you can use that's okay. When I talk about the R-colored vowels, there's E, which in IPA is like this. And then there's which in IPA is like this. Um, and for the R-colored version, right, most teachers will tell you that it's the sound, right? So it's supposed to be this symbol. Um, and that gets R colored. So like ear, ear, ear. So if I say like this, it's supposed to be ear, like my ear hurts. And that is one way to say it. That's perfectly fine. Um, in Western American, I assume it's Western American because this is how I speak and this is how I hear other people around me speaking. Instead of using to R color, which sometimes it'll come out that way, we use E to R color. And so instead of saying like EAR as ear, we'll say ear. Um, and so with this word also, right, the spelling is HERE. The E at the end is silent. Okay. It uses the same thing, except there's an H in front of it. So like this word and this word are pronounced the same. And you can pronounce them as here with an R colored I sound, the second vowel I, here. Or you can pronounce it with an R colored first vowel E, here. And then an H at the beginning of either one. To me, that is much less confusing. There's none of this nonsense about a schwa being in there, and it's completely unnecessary. It's completely complicated. Um, this is one reason I tell you to ignore the IPA because, and it's things like this that really bug me about how things are presented. And again, I perhaps in some other neutral dialect in American English, because again, there's not just one. Not dialect, but yeah, I guess a dialect accent. There's no one neutral accent, right? Like Western American, even though some exact sounds are a little bit different, it's going to sound neutral compared to, say, the North Midland, compared to Western New England, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Generally, throughout most of the country, we all sound pretty neutral, even though the exact sounds are slightly different as you go across the country. Um, And so, technically speaking, maybe there are some people who speak this way, and when linguists look at, general American and they're taking their samples from, the traditional sort of like Midwestern or North Midwestern area, maybe that would be the exact way that people speak. Um, but if you want to still sound very natural and neutral, you can completely ignore that and just say, well, I would underline the E and the R to show that it's an R colored E, but you can just say here, here. Either way is perfectly fine. That's the English hacks method. You'll still sound perfectly natural, perfectly neutral. And it's a lot easier. You can completely ignore the schwa, which I think is just ridiculous in that word. I'd say just solely, just solely and just sang or song or gui or gui. Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities there, I guess. um, that's a mouthful. Anyway, shun shun. Cats in boxes. I assume those are cats. Why are there cats in boxes? I'm confused now. I don't know what that emoji is supposed to be. And since I'm so far behind, I have no context for it. Would you use a J for the just or a Y? Use a J for the just or a Y? That's a good question. I definitely wouldn't use a Y. Oh my God, the chat keeps moving. Stop moving. Okay. Rodrigo, can tap someone out mean to help or to cover for someone? I heard someone using that context. The person needed to pat someone down at the airport security checkpoint and then ask another agent to tap him out. Uh, okay. So one person was supposed to do the the check on the person, but he asked someone else to do it. That's what I understand here. This is kind of weird to me here. It makes sense. I wouldn't say that it means to help or to cover for someone. Um, to tap out, depending on the exact context, it can sort of mean like to help in a way, but it's very special. Like the context has to be very, very specific. And it's in the case of because what tap out means is like it's traditionally comes from wrestling, right? So if you're wrestling with somebody and they get you in an arm bar or something and they're twisting your arm and you can't get out, you tap, meaning you give up, right? You're like, I'm done. So that's to tap out. This has been extended in some contexts. So say like, I don't know, there's two parents and they have three kids, and let's say the mom works and the dad works during the night. The mom works during the day, right? Or something like that. And so the mom comes home and the dad is just exhausted from the kids, and he's just like, okay, tap me out. Right, he's like, I'm done. I've been with the kids all day, you can have them. Right, so it's sort of abstract concept of that, like, my arm is twisted, I can't take it anymore, I give up. Right. um so in that case it can mean kind of like to help or to cover, but it's again, it's not exactly the same. In this context that you're describing, I think because when you do a security check of somebody and you check to see, like, you do this on their body, to make sure there's no weapons or anything, that's called a pat down. A pat down, and the verb is to pat someone down. um, Now pat and tap are very similar types of verbs. um, I would expect someone to say, provided my understanding is correct here, I would expect, yeah, so you said to pat someone down, right? um, I would expect him to say, oh, can you pat him down, not tap him out. which makes me think that maybe he's saying, okay, like I'm not going to do this, you do it instead. But it's the same thing. I don't know. It's confusing. I don't know why he said tap him out. I really don't. It makes sense, but it's really weird, and I wouldn't think of it as a common thing in this context. Um, so I don't really know because I wouldn't say it that way. Oblivion, I hate technical BS too. An average person with brain work in English will probably come up with something close to that. But yeah, people who know a few languages carry it differently. I think Japanese and syllable time languages are just easier than stress time ones. Maybe I just suck. Well, I wouldn't put it that way, but um, looks like we have a hidden message here. Oh, I know why YouTube hid that one. Yeah, we'll go ahead and show that. That's fine. Um, let's see. Okay. Well, so Oblivion, I forget what your native language is, but coming from a syllable time language, yeah, if you learn another syllable time language, the rhythm's going to be super easy because it's going to be the same or extremely similar to what you already know. Like for me, um, when I hear Russian or German, which are also stress time languages, like the rhythm is just very intuitive. Like I can just feel the rhythm. Like that's not even a question. It's just like, yeah. And I've worked with mostly Russians. I've worked with a couple Germans, but I've worked with a lot of Russians on English and on English, yeah, on English and English either way. Um, and because Russian is also stress timed, very rarely do my Russian students make any sort of like intonation problems um, or have any sort of intonation problems or things like that. Like the rhythm is just kind of like it may not be 100% the same as English in all cases, but it's the same underlying structure, and so it's not really something that we even have to pay attention to. Um, but when I have like say a Spanish speaker, right, the rhythm is super important and very difficult to work with. And we kind of have to like work through that. And I give them a bunch of different exercises and stuff. So um, yeah, it's just the difference in like getting used to instead of having everything be sort of equally long, regardless of the stress. You have to get used to making unstressed words super short and quieter, and then stressed ones longer, not necessarily exaggeratedly long, but relatively longer and louder. So it just takes getting used to. Just like it takes me getting used to syllable time stress. Right, I find that there's a lot of variation in terms of Latin phrases by native English speakers, even common ones like summa cum laude. Yeah, that's how I say it, summa cum laude, summa cum laude. I'm pretty sure I've heard it pronounced that way before, but that's how I say it. I know when syllable timed and when stress timed, maybe that's kind of a mix and confusing. I try to listen to the rhythm instead of listening for words. Also, my Audacity is kind of broken. How's Audacity broken? Let me know. Oh, I see Sedent is here. Um, Hola, Sedent. ¿Cómo estás? Anyway, oh, Win 10. Yeah. Yeah. Windows 10 sucks. Um, Not as bad as Windows 8. Nothing's as bad as Windows 8, Jesus. But um, yeah, I'm constantly still having problems with my computer as well. I'm waiting for a new hard drive to come in. It should come in tomorrow night, external hard drive, because I need to back up everything and just reformat my computer. Because I've tried resetting it in like a soft reset where I just reinstall the operating system but keep all the files, and that doesn't seem to solve the problem. Um, I've tried all kinds of things. This is my last hope before I have to take it into a technician, and I really don't want to do that. So anyway, uh, so Oblivion, what is the stress timed language that you know? Because maybe you said before and I forgot, but let me know that, and I might have some insight there. But Shun, I'm also noticing things. Oh, good. That just seemed to come out of nowhere, Shinshin. Maybe it was based on something I was talking about. Maybe it was the cats. I asked you about the cats, and you said you're noticing things. I don't even know. So disconnected at this point. But hey, we're at an hour. Wow, an hour flies by. It's good that you're noticing things, Shinshin, because things need to be noticed. Anytime you're learning a skill, you have to notice. You have to pay attention and notice. Okay. Summa cum laude. Summa cum laude. Hmm. Okay. I guess that works too. Um, could you look up The Gift of Life full episode 1425 here on YouTube and skip to 525? You should hear a man say the word mom. I'd love to know whether it'll sound unusual or not. Okay. Let's copy this and we'll paste it here. Um, wow, it has a 57% like ratio. That is this controversial? Well, that might be why. Okay, what was the timestamp? 525. 525. Okay, I'll go to 520. And let's see. Yeah, he's Canadian. If he's not Canadian, he probably grew up close to the border. Yeah, so he's not saying mom, he's saying mom, mom, mom. It almost sounds kind of like I want to say maybe like an Irish or Scottish kind of way to say it. Like it sounds kind of like from that area, but um, eh, whatever. I'm noticing with how he's speaking with certain vowels, he sounds to me what I would describe as Canadian. Um, but that's also maybe because now I'm very familiar with that. Let's see. Yeah, right. When he says about, he says like complains about, just like he says mom, about. So I don't know why he's saying mom like that. It is strange. But because of how he's saying some other words like about, it seems kind of Canadian to me. So I don't know. I have no idea why he's saying mom. It is strange. um, Sedent, can you please help me with full name pronunciation? I mean the transition from L to N. Also, please help me with L and N sounds. It seems like they have the same tongue position. Well, that's because they basically do have the same tongue position, or they can anyway. Okay, there's a couple things to talk about here. So first, full is going to be a half L or a dark L, as it's commonly called. Um, and so even if you're going up into the N in name, you don't have to do a regular L. I mean, it's something that can happen because you're going up into that position anyway. So either way, whether you do a half L or a full L in this case, it doesn't really matter. But if you keep it as a full L and then just go up into N, right, it's going to be full, full, and then name, full name, full name. So I just do that ul, and then I go up into n, which again is sort of pretty much on that bump. This is your teeth here. So I'm not really touching my teeth when I do the N. Okay. Now the L, the full L, or the light L, um, that it's not going to be straight up, right? Like I've talked about before. That's more of like a Spanish L. La. We're not going to do that. There's going to be a little bit of flatness, and you could let's see, yeah, you can technically put it in the same place as long as there's a little bit of flatness. But if you use the sides of your tongue to block the airflow, it's going to go through your nose and sound like an N. If you keep that same position, right, a little bit of flatness, because we need that for the NT and D in English. We don't go straight up. And if you do that same position, but you let the sides of your tongue come in so that the air can flow around the tongue. Mm, oh, oh, oh. I know you can't see that, but I'm just sort of spreading out my sides of my tongue to block the airflow, and then bringing them in to let the air flow around the tongue. Now the L could be in the same place like that. That's fine. It's probably going to be a little bit farther forward, maybe touching the teeth a little bit. You can even have it flat on the teeth. That's fine. La 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 la, no problem. So there's really a nice good range to the full L sound of where exactly you can place it, and you can kind of pick wherever you want. Um, if you wanted to, because we have the L and the N together here, you could, as I said, you could do that half L and just go straight up into N and not even worry about the L part because it's already in the O, full, right? Or you can full name, full name, full name, full name. Remember that the N can also be dental placed, right? We usually do that for the TH, but if the L is placed here, right, and you have the sides of your tongue in, and you keep that same position on the teeth, and you just spread out the sides of the tongue to block the airflow and let it go through the nose, it's going to sound fine, right? It's going to be a dental N technically, but it's going to sound, there's no problem with that. So if I say full, right here, full name, full name. Now you can kind of see my tongue seems like it's moving in the front. I'm actually not moving it. It's just because when I move the sides out, the front kind of, that bulk gets pulled in a little bit, but I still have it anchored on the teeth. It's just this part is sort of shifting. Full name, full name, full name at the top. Anywhere in there, it really doesn't matter. So because the N is a little bit more flexible due to the TH variation of the dental T and dental D, really anywhere, as long as you're not pointed straight up, anywhere in there with a little bit of flatness to complete flatness on the teeth, you can do the L and the N from the exact same position there. And so, yeah, it makes it really easy. Now, you also don't have to have them have the same tongue position. You can do like full, where you're sort of touching the teeth, and then pull it back into N, full name, full name, full name. That's also fine, right? So there's no one right answer here. Just do whichever way is easiest for you. Okay. Oblivion, Slavs suffer from devoicing, some of them so kind of ingrained in their brains. Yeah, I'm sometimes guilty of that too when I say a weak plosive at the end. Okay, yeah, I answered Wilma's question. Good. Yeah, I don't know too much about. I mean, I know Russian is a Slavic language, but there's other people who speak Slavic languages too. I'm not an expert on that type of language. I just know a lot. I have a lot of experience with working with Russian speakers, but I don't know Russian myself, so I don't know what um, people who speak those languages suffer from, but from devoicing, yeah. So it helps to know those things because like it's really it's this. I think it's the student's responsibility to take charge of their own education, right? Especially these days with the internet. So I mean, the teacher has a role, but at the end of the day, the teacher is really just a guide, right? If the student doesn't put in the work, then whatever. So I think, like if I'm teaching English and you speak a Slavic language, well, it might help to know, like do a little research on your own language and see like common problems that, you know, people in your language have when learning English. And then you can identify certain things and look for information to help fill in those gaps. Otherwise, you may never even be aware of those things and never notice them because your ears, aren't tuned to that problem. So it's a good example that Oblivion is aware of that. Oh, I'm so far behind, guys. I just keep getting further behind. Okay. Isn't I supposed to be floating in your mouth? I don't think it's that hard to go into. Oh, L. It's lowercase L, I guess. Isn't L supposed to be floating in your mouth? Wait. Is it I or L? I don't think it's that hard to go into N. You just lift your tongue up, I guess. Uh, yeah. So if you do the dark L, what I call the half L, then yeah, it kind of floats in your mouth. That's why I call it a vowel sound because it works pretty much like every other vowel sound. but not if you. It's always possible. Anytime you see an L, as long as it's not silent, like the L is usually silent in most cases. But as long as an L isn't silent, it's actually there. Even if it's supposed to be a dark L, it's technically always possible to do it as a full L, and it'll sound nice and clear. And maybe if we really enunciate a word, we might do that. Like if I say, "Oh, I'm really full," full. I don't have to do it that way, but I might choose to go to that full L consonant sound, the light L. Um, and it could happen that way, but normally in the flow of speech, especially in American English, it seems um, it's going to be very unlikely to do that. So always keep in mind, right? The full pronunciation is always possible. Um, Not the pronunciation of full, but like the full pronunciation of whatever word is always possible. Um, so using a full L, that's another reason why I call it a full L, because it brings us into that sort of full pronunciation in a like really clearly enunciated or emphasized way, where it would normally be a half L or a dark L. Anyway, I don't know, 98% of words are ear, ear for ear on the West Coast. What is it? Ear. No one really says air. Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, you're just transcribing it. Yeah, because you have that U there. I'm just like I'm trying to read that, and I'm like er what, or ear. Yeah, ear. Um. Anyway, sometimes it comes out as but I hear most people say e before r. It's usually weird mirror that might have an or spirit. Spirit is another one. Um, for some people, but it's still random. Yeah, there are some words. I've noticed that too. There's some words like weird, mirror, and spirit where you can still just use e. Like if you just always want to say e for the art color there and say ear, weird, mirror, spirit. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But some words like that, even in Western American, they tend to kind of come out with more of an eh sound. Where most other words, they'll usually come out with more of an E sound, but if they come out with I, like nobody's going to notice the difference and it's going to sound perfectly fine as well. So it really doesn't matter. You can just pick one and you do it all the time. Um, and you don't have to shift between the two. But that's why I like to think of it as a big range where as long as you hit E or I, like you don't go down to eh for the R color. If you say air, that's a different sound. But if you say ear or ear and it comes out either way or somewhere in between, you're perfectly fine. So it gives you a nice, good cushion for that first R color combination, which is always nice, right? Because you have more space to work with. But yeah, tap someone out sounds like you're going to kick them out. Maybe. Well, I don't know about kick. Why did I say kick? I saw the word kick and I said, yeah, knock. I was going to say kick someone out. That's a little bit weird. Yeah, knock someone out. In a way, yeah, it's in that direction. But actually, knockout and tap out are two distinctly different concepts because knockout means that they're maybe not abstractly but like literally you're going to knock them out, they're going to lose consciousness, so they're giving up involuntarily because they lost consciousness, um, or maybe like you knock them out of bounds, whatever, where tap out is maybe they don't want to, but the pain is so much that they choose to tap, right? They choose to give up. So there's a little bit of a different concept there, but they're very, very close. That is true. Um, could you say the third vowel and then transition into the fourth while extending each for a while? Just please don't put a glottal stop break between them and try to do it in one breath. Oh, I can do that. That's easy. Let's see. Okay. So third vowel. So I'm starting the third vowel, transition to the fourth vowel while extending each for a while. And do you want me to go back and forth, or I'll go back and forth. Um, so we're gonna okay. I'm going to do a full full fourth vowel, as I assume you don't want the lazy one. But okay. And anybody who just joined the live stream thinks that I'm probably making some strange chant or something. Anyway, so there you go. I hope that's helpful. Shun Shun, I want to use my name in English, but I don't know how to say it. That sounds funny. Yeah, it's a common problem usually. Like when I took Japanese, like semester one of Japanese in college, right, the teacher told us like how our names would be in Japanese, and so right, my last name is Moore, which I would think in Japanese would be changed into like Moa, but it's actually not. It changes into U. They say Mua, Mua-san. So I would have no idea, right? So yeah, I want to use my name in English, but I don't know how to say it. I don't know what sounds I should use. Could you help me? My name is. Yeah, I don't know how to say your name in English either. Sorry. No. Well, I mean the way that we would say it, it would be at least partially based on the way that you say it, like the sounds that you use, because potentially, I mean, we might be able to use certain different sounds. Like maybe it the transliteration from your language to English uses the letter E in the middle, for example, but maybe that transliteration is supposed to be pronounced as E, where I would want to say that as because usually if we just see an E by itself, it's probably going to be Um, but I would just looking at this, the way that I would try to say this without knowing how it's supposed to sound in your language, I would say arklepli, arklepli. So you have to do K to L, which is kind of a difficult thing, but R, so the R colored off, fifth vowel, arc, and we go into that K sound, arc, arcle, 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 and then pli. So you have another cluster there, P and L, pl, pl, pl. And then that I at the end, I would say is E, arclepli, arclepli. Or let's see, in that case, I'm stressing the middle. I'm saying arclepli. You could give it a different stress. Again, I don't know how it's said in your language. We'd probably try to mirror that stress. If say the first syllable is stressed in your language, in which case it would be like arcliply. So that middle syllable would turn into a schwa, arcliply, arcliply. So I don't know exactly, but it would be something like that. One of those two, probably. And yeah, using his words layout, I guess. Well, I know. Well, I also use I use third vowel and fourth vowel because that's how it is in the vowel chart. Yeah. So, our cleply, our gleeply is possible. Again, if that middle sound is an E. See, if you put EA, I'm going to try to read that as E because that's most commonly associated with the E vowel sound. So maybe our cleeply. That could be possible as well. Yeah. Yes, wanted to include the phonetic spelling as well, but my message ran into 200 character limit. Yeah, I know. I hate that. Screw YouTube limits. I hate them. Exactly. Yeah. IPA is evil. Just ask him to say bet and bat. Bet and bat. Bet and bat. Bet and bat. Bet bat. Bet bat. Or bet and bat vowels in isolation. Message retracted. Why? Why would you retract a message? Anyway. That's okay. I agree, though. IPA is evil. Wow, that's a bit strong, but I really don't like it. Rodrigo! He was by the walk-through metal. Oh, yeah, go back to that context. Okay. He was by the walk-through metal detector, but needed to go pat the passenger down. So he asked Jake to stay by the walk-through metal detector for him. That's when he asked Jake to tap him out. He was by the walk-through metal detector, but needed to go pat the passenger down. Still doesn't make. I mean, again, it kind of makes sense, but it's still it doesn't that doesn't really change anything. Like, are you saying like he? So he was standing by the walk-through metal detector, And before he goes to pat down the passenger, he asks Jake, you know, tap him out. So him would be the passenger. See, that's what I'm getting. Because it would be tap me out if like he's saying, "Hey, hold my post, and I'm gonna go pat down the passenger." That's kind of what I was thinking, but if it's him, that doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. Oblivion. I mean, I don't know. I used to speak the stress timed one the most, but I'm not sure about it because I'm kind of a heritage speaker of that language. Yeah, one is syllable timed. Okay. See that could be part of it. I can't use the files and can't play with them either because of some plugins. Hmm. Well, Audacity works just fine on my computer. I have Windows 10. I mean, that's all technical. I don't know how technically savvy you are, um, but the fact that you know about Audacity tells me that you have at least some technical savvy. So, uh, I don't know. We'll just say that it's a problem because I don't know. Um, but yeah, there's what is it? There's one which is it's like the FFmpeg or something, or lame, like the lame thing or whatever. And it always gives me that problem when I first install it and I try to like load MP3 files. So if that's the problem, then there's definitely a relatively easy way to fix that. I assume that's not it because they give you steps on how to do that, and you should be able to do that. So I don't know if you have other plugin problems. I have no idea what that would be. Estoy muy bien. Oh, okay. Student learning Spanish. That's where you went. Yeah, because I haven't heard much from you. You went off to learn Spanish, apparently. um, oh, pues, yo estoy bien también. Although muy would be spelled with a Y, M-U-Y, not an I. But anyway, or Portuguese, muito bom, muito bom. What's the most reducted way? So reduced way of saying where have you been? Let's see if I say it really quickly. Where have you been? 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 So you can make that R. One thing that I noticed a while ago is that the faster we speak, the weaker the R's get, and it's not to the point where they disappear, like in British English. I'm talking about the R vowel sounds, not the R consonant. So we're never going to say like well, like a British speaker. But I noticed that the R's get weaker in fast speech. So we can contract where and have, wherev. That's perfectly fine. We're never gonna. Well, I don't think we're supposed to write apostrophe ve after where. So it's a spoken contraction. And then you could be ya. So wherev ya, wherev ya. So we have v y, and then wherev ya. Really fast speech, that R can get really, really light. Wherev ya, wherev ya, where, yeah, where, instead of where, yeah. So you just kind of barely hit that R, and then bin, right? In American English we say bin, not bean. So where have you been? Where have you been? Where have you been? Where have you been? Yeah. If there's a more reduced way than that, it's not coming to me because sometimes when it comes to like reducing and contracting things, there might be a way that we unconsciously say it really quickly, and when we focus on it, we're like, eh. But I'm pretty sure that's the shortest, most like reduced version you can get. Where have you been? Oblivion. Win 10 is lame. Yes. I hate MS for killing Win 7. Yes. Yeah, I'm reinstalling Windows 10 each 4 to 6 months because it's bad. Windows 8 is a nightmare. Don't bring it up. I know. Yeah, I know. Like I've in the last like since the start of the year, I probably had to reset my PC like 4 times, and it's still crashing. So stupid. Get SSD instead. Well, SSD would help. I looked up because I didn't know all the technical stuff. I looked up tests that I can run for the like to diagnose it because it could be like the problem I'm getting whenever it gives me the blue screen of death um, is it says like kernel security check failure or whatever, and so I looked that up. They say, oh well, it could be faulty memory, it could be faulty hard drive, it could be this, that. So I ran all these diagnostic tests, and all of them came back clean. They were all positive. So, or positive, negative, I guess negative for problems. We can look at it either way, but they were all fine. But yeah, I am getting my external hard drive that is coming in the mail is an SSD, so that should be good. But and in fact, now that I have an external hard drive, I can actually install Linux on that one. I haven't installed Linux on this computer because I can't risk breaking it. And ever since Secure Boot came out, some people who have tried to install Linux have wound up with bricks, as we say, where their computers they just don't work anymore. So I can't risk that on this PC, even though I know perfectly well how to install Linux and I have it on my laptop. But I could install it on the external hard drive and run Linux from that. That might work. Anyway, where have you been? Where have? So yeah, Oblivion. So you're saying like where have you been? You could reduce have to of. That's also perfectly fine. But you can actually completely erase that schwa. So like I was saying, where've, just go from to v. Where have you been? He needs to store info. Yes, I do. Russian. See, now I don't even know. Is that your stress time language that I asked about? Because I'm so far behind. I'm never gonna catch up, guys. I'm never gonna catch up. Um, I assume that's your stress time language, especially since you mentioned um, Slavs. Uh, so yeah, then down below you say bag is back in a lot of Slavic language. Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Okay, so yeah, yeah, I don't know. Russian rhythm and English rhythm, as far as I've noticed and as far as I've discussed with some of my students, is practically identical. At least in the core way that it works, not necessarily in like a one-to-one case-by-case basis. But so I don't know. I don't know. SSDs are pretty good. The fact that you mentioned Oblivion that it's the stress time language is like a heritage language. That might be why. Uh, so anyway, SSDs are pretty good. SSDs are less reliable for it. Really, I don't know, man. I like SSDs. If you really want to store info, they're good for app speeds when startup in games now. Say people in the Bay say mom like off or some other stuff. Doesn't sound like mom all the time, but definitely not like him, that Canadian guy, and all the Brits. Some people. Mom is like omelet for them. Well, I mean, mom omelet. That's the same for me. Ball is also the same sound, but that's L colored. Ball. Um, well, I know in British English they don't even say mom; they say mum. So I don't know. Anyway, I have a chance of catching up. I don't know about the if there's any problem between German and English for voice and voicelessness. See, like bag, bag, back, back, maybe. Um, anyway, yeah, I don't know. I use the vowel L all the time unless it's before a vowel like in. Oh, the vowel L all the time. Yeah, unless unless it's before a vowel like in like or light. then it seems to be the consonant one, just like N. Yeah, well, it's supposed to be if it's at the start of a syllable. So if you have like old, like that's not at the end of the syllable, but that's also not at the start of the syllable. So oftentimes you'll find the L vowel at the end of a syllable, but if it's not the exact last sound, it's fine as long as it's not at the start of a syllable. And it's partially because of this exact thing that you're describing. Like if it's before a vowel, then that L consonant sound can kind of really come to life. And so we'll do l, like, especially if there's nothing before. Like you could say like, I like it, I like it. Especially in American English, it's a little less clear, but in fact, it's possible to just always use the L vowel in American English. If you can do the L vowel, like that, the dark L, if you can do that half L vowel perfectly, I mean perfectly, then you can just always use it. Now, in real American speech, we will commonly just use the half L vowel sound, but we also commonly use the other one. Like it's not like there's a rule or anything. It's just I've noticed a feature of American English speech is the ability to just kind of always use that half L vowel in any place that there's supposed to be an L. So unfortunately, it's hard. It's a hard sound to make or to learn how to make. So that's the only problem with it. But thank you so much. I have one last thing I'd like to confirm. If you search for K-pop and GNA interview YouTube video and listen from 9:48 to 9:51, do you hear something non-standard? Yeah. Okay. 9:48 to 9:51. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's a K-pop thing. That makes sense. GNA interview. Okay, and then we're looking for 9:48 to 9:51. 9:48, so we're 9:45 here. I assume you're talking about the A sound in family and can't. Yes, it is a little bit non-standard. So, yeah, she's saying like I have a family. I can't. I have a family. I can't. It's maybe a little bit, yeah. Say oblivious saying families. I didn't even read that yet. I'm notorious for that. I don't read the comments past the comment I'm on, usually. But yeah, so she says I have a family here. Family. This a pronunciation of family and can or can't. It does sound what I guess would be a bit British. Yeah, but before that, I started at 9:43. So what she was saying before sounded very American. So I don't know if she's a native speaker or what, or maybe it just happened to come out that way. It seems unlikely since she did it in both words. But anyway, you're such a good sport. I don't think he sounds native, but that's a good, or she sounds native, but that's a good accent, better than mine. Yeah, I'd have to listen to her a little bit more. Let me get a bigger sample here. Let's see. News reporter. Okay, so listening to her for about another 30 seconds or so. I'm not particularly picking up much that sounds non-native. I mean, if I really listened extra close, maybe I could pick up a couple of little things here or there. But really, the only thing that seems non-standard or strange to me is what David pointed out for that timestamp with family and can't. She sounds like an American native speaker, as far as I can tell, just from about 30 seconds or so of listening. So, if nothing else, it's very good. Let's see. It does, doesn't it? And can't doesn't sound British, but it's certainly different from how Josh says it. Yeah. Well, the way I say it is the best way, of course. That's how I say it. I don't know why YouTube is trying to hide this. Yes, that would be Josh, I think. Because I told my teacher my name is Joshua, and so it's Joshua. Joshua. I think Joshua is also fine. This would be the shorter way. Anyway, I'm always confused in Japanese. Like if I were to try to say like an English word in Japanese that maybe they've adapted, or if I'm like listening and I notice that they say like an English word, there's sometimes where I would expect it to have an "u" at the end, like they add an "u" to it, and there's sometimes where I would expect for them to add an "o" to the end. And half the time I'm right, but the other half the time I'll hear them say the sort of Japanese version of this English word, and they'll switch it. And I'm like, why are they using the "u" here when it should clearly be an "o"? um, so I don't know. It's weird, but um, she says can't. Oh my God, YouTube, stop auto scrolling. Like Northern England, Ireland, and so on. I guess I don't know. So it'll take Josh some time. She is a native speaker. Yeah, I finally caught up. She is a native speaker who was born in Alberta, Canada, and raised in Surrey, which is, I believe, somewhere in British Columbia. So that probably explains it. That's maybe just a little bit of um, slight regional Canadian-ish sound because a lot of Canadians just sound pretty much American anyway. So yeah, makes sense. Um, you're welcome, Shun Shun, or I guess. I don't know. I just see Shun Shun every once in a while. I'm just like, I don't know what Shun Shun is referring to. I don't know if it's something I said or something somebody else said. Um, let's see. She doesn't say can't, can't, can't. What? Can't? That sounds very British. And it doesn't sound Northern American either. Anyway, I don't know. You're right. I don't know either. It's a strange accent, but it's possible. Maybe it's just my ears. I'm only used to a specific accent. Other sounds strange. Canadians love to say A's like some Brits, especially from British Columbia. So possible, but she definitely doesn't sound American. Not an inch. Well, not an inch with that particular sound, I would say. But everything else sounds very American to me. I was too lazy to fix it, but I tried to. I mean, I don't know. I probably messed up the steps. Just reinstall your Windows 10, especially if you got the online license of Windows. Um, yeah, I don't know about that. I bought my PC and it came with Windows. That's all I know. Um, but I'm gonna do I guess it's basically like the reformat and reinstall because you can reset Windows where it'll keep your files and then you can reset it where it'll completely clean everything. And that's like the last resort, nuclear bomb step that I found is like if nothing else works, try that. So that's why I'm waiting for my hard drive. The reset button is a scam. I don't see why it's a scam. Like, how is it a scam? um, Also, I don't get blue screens like ever. It only stacks up garbage on my system. Yeah, it's weird. Well, it stacks up garbage on your system. Well, garbage tends to, make garbage. So that's Windows for you. That'd be really funny is like we're talking about this and my computer just crashes. It's like, yeah, thanks, Windows. Or causes bugs or other stuff. That's why I reinstall. Just disable UEFI and BIOS. Yeah. I mean, I've been in and out of BIOS before, especially on older computers. But since I can't afford to lose this computer, I really tend to just stay out of the BIOS. On my laptop, I'll poke around the BIOS all day. Like, I don't really care. But anyway, and you shouldn't have a problem with Linux. Anyway, we'll see. Yeah, I'll just put it on the external hard drive. It doesn't matter. Many monolinguals are like that. Not sure what I am right now. Well, whatever. Yeah, but like in the Bay, they have some Midwestern pronunciation while it's still the Western accent, and they say caught and caught the same. Yeah, the Bay Area has some interesting things. Like they're starting to pronounce the L, the silent L, in like almond and salmon. Um, I would assume not in words like walk, because that's extremely strange. But in some words, almond, salmon, they're saying almond and salmon and whatever, which is just annoying, but whatever. um, I mean, Germans and Russians seem to say bag and back as back and back. English natives say bag and back. That's the difference. They don't say voiceless consonants or voiced at the end. Yeah, I mean that can happen. Um, in Russian for sure. Again, I don't know. I haven't paid enough attention to German, but um, anyway, I'm almost caught up. I blame Oblivion for me getting behind, just because like you're literally like the MVP commenter today or chatter today, which is fine. That's good. I'm just saying. Um, where was I? I say the consonant L at the beginning of words, but the L vowel for anything else. Yeah, there you go. Consonant, consonant. Why do you put L consonant star? Oh, the consonant L, L consonant. You can put consonant before or after, it doesn't matter. Um, Japanese butcher English in a funny way. Also, sometimes my brain filters their pronunciation out and it sounds kind of right to me apart from the accent. Yeah, whatever works. Mine would be re, if I'm reading that right. My katakana abilities were always the weakest because I wrote each hiragana character 50 times. Like I brute forced it. This is like before I really knew anything about learning anything. um, I was just like, hey, yeah, Ray, exactly. I was just like, hey, you know what? The best way to learn this is to just brute force it. And I'm learning a new alphabet, which I think probably is a good technique for learning a new script, depending on the script. Um, Kanji is a little more complicated, but if you're learning a new, simple script, I think brute force is a valid approach, even though it's not the best for most other things. But I was just like 50 times, ah, 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 50 times, e, e, e. And I still remember how to read and write hiragana. Like there's a couple characters, even though I never read and write hiragana, like ever, like very, very rarely, I can still read like almost any hiragana and katakana. I may not know the words necessarily, but I'll be able to read it. The katakana, after I had brute forced 50 times every single hiragana letter, I had to try to redo that for katakana. And it was just like, I am tired. I don't want to do this anymore. So I didn't brute force as much for the katakana. And so my katakana has never been as strong. I notice I'm flapping that D for that T in katakana. Anyway, but yeah, that should be an R and an I, which would be elongated. Although I never got that in katakana because sometimes I see it where it's like they make the line and so it should be long. So I guess if there's no line, then it would be rei instead of re. Yeah, it would be rei. That always kind of confused me a little bit. That's why I like in the hiragana, they just like if it's like whole, they'll be like the character for whole and then the character for u, which is strange to me that it's not an o, it's an u, but whatever, it's close enough, it makes sense. Where the line in katakana kind of always threw me off. But almost the same in Korean. Poor Asians can't say a diphthong, yeah, or say the a diphthong. Well, they can learn. You do go the easy way. What do you mean I go the easy way? What's happening? Oh, don't tell me it's a pre-build. Oh, yeah. So, well, I won't go into why I have this particular computer, but I didn't buy it. um, so, yeah, I am going to build my own computer. I know how to do that. I've taken apart computers before. I've also taken apart laptops before. Um, but I need monies for that, and I don't currently have the monies. And monies is a funny way to say money, so that's why I'm saying that with an S at the end or a Z actually. But, yeah, I don't have the money. So what I want to do eventually is because this computer is eventually going to whatever die at some point, and hopefully I will have the money, which I plan to. Seeing how I'm building up all my income streams right now, and then I will be able to just build my own computer. I helped my roommate build his computer because he didn't know how to do it. So, um, but yes, this is a pre-build, and I didn't do it myself. Yes, I know. Um, I know I can't play games on, which I don't play games a whole lot, but I can't play games on like the highest graphics, which makes me sad. Although this computer does a lot better than my laptop did. So, um, I guess I'm just a Zoomer who learned a lot of stuff because I didn't give an F. Yeah. um, Very nice end there, yeah. Because if we were to actually say F to refer to the F word, it would be an F. So it's actually very nice, very high level detail you got there. Um, yeah. Well, I'm a millennial, so you know, I don't know. I'm older than you. Ha! I win. Anyway, yeah, no, it's the same with me because I have a bunch of interests and I learn, how to do some stuff with computers, and I kind of like took half of a course and figured out the rest by myself, and I was like, hey, I could do this. So yeah, I think we're along the same line. It's just this particular computer was pre-built. Um, they say almond and salmon. Wait, what? Well, that's how we're supposed to say it. Almond and salmon. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe some of them I don't talk to each of them. There's almost 9 million of them. Yeah, I know, right? And that's the other thing. I mean, especially like in San Francisco, like in the whole Bay Area, like it's a popular place for people to go because of like the tech industry and stuff. And so there are people from all over the world and people from all over the country, who are there. And so there's probably a lot of people who don't even have because I heard that it's something in the Bay Area that is changing is people are starting to bring in that pronounced L in some words like that. But number one, that doesn't mean that everybody's going to do it. And number two, there's plenty of people from the Western United States who probably have moved there um, and don't have that change. And then, of course, there's lots of other people from other parts of the country or elsewhere in the world who have moved there that don't do that. So, um, odds are you're probably not going to hear it. But if you are going to hear them say almond or salmon, whatever, then it's probably going to be in that specific part of the country, as far as I know. Writing kana a lot helps. I learned it that way too. Kanji seems to be easier with radicals. Yeah, there's the whole Heisig method. And when I go back to Japanese, number one, I'm going to completely ignore writing until I'm conversationally fluent because that's how you're supposed to learn a language with an extremely different script. I mean, there's no supposed to, there's no right way, but unless you want to, potentially kill yourself, you kind of want to separate them. So I have a whole approach ready for when I go back to Japanese to finally get it squared away. But anyway, I think some of them got to 100, 150 times because I've been using a tablet and a software program for that. Didn't even feel that hard. I still trip over a few katakana characters, but it's pretty good for both sounds. Yeah, it was always the weird part for me is like they have like two systems. I know the katakana is supposed to be more for like foreign words or whatever, but they have two different systems. So you have like two characters for each sound. And it's like, what? Why? Why would you do this? And then, of course, they have the kanji on top of that. It's like, guys, you didn't need to invent katakana, okay? Like, I know the whole like traditional, especially like back when katakana was created. Like, I know the whole like Japanese spirit, Japanese pride type thing, and like traditionally being kind of isolationist and everything. But you didn't need to create a whole separate script for foreign words. It was completely unnecessary, and you made it harder for people to learn Japanese. It's not that much harder, but it's just annoying. Like, why would you have an extra script? You already have kanji and hiragana. Like, you don't need a third one. Meanwhile, Korean has pretty much abandoned the kanji, and they have probably the single most logical and consistent writing system on the planet, which is amazing. Um, so I think Korean wins this one. But anyway, do, 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 do. Oh, I say kata kan a kata. Well, see, because you wrote UH and then A, so I don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce that because it's supposed to be and It's the same katakana. Um, but yeah, flapping is an option too. Hiragana. Yeah, hiragana. Exactly, hiragana. Um, yeah, good PC is at least 1,500 or more. Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. It's really pricey and actually unaffordable right now with AMD and miners running the prices. Yeah, ruining the prices. Hey man, that's okay. Miners got a mine. It's better than coal. It's better than coal mining. Mine the bitcoins. Yeah, obviously the electricity use is a big problem, but that is one very, very small part of um, cryptocurrency, which is a whole different conversation in itself. Um, but anyway, I got the bitcoins. In Japanese, I get a headache anytime I need to pronounce words like tenin or senin. Hmm. Not sure why. Maybe I am just not aware enough because I don't know why there's the apostrophe there. I mean, you're better Japanese than I am. I already know that. Is it supposed to be stopped? Like ten-in? That seems weird. Anyway, um, for spinal or spinal, spinal or spinal, would you naturally find yourself saying spinal or spinel? It's a stone crystal if you're curious. Yeah, okay. So yeah, because I didn't know what that was. I was like, is that supposed to be an A, so it'd be spinal? Um, well, looking at it, I would say spinal. So the first one, spinel. I mean, I guess there's a chance that I might say it as spinel, but especially because it looks very much like spinal. For some reason, I didn't say spinal. I said because I saw the E, and that made me want to say spin instead of spine. So I don't know what's going on in my brain there. It's probably something under the surface that caused me to make that change. Um, but yeah, interesting. Um, spinal. Anyway, I think spinal is actually isn't that like another word? Like, oh no, that's spindle. I think it's spindle. That also might be why, because there's the word spindle, which is Spindle, I believe, and that's pronounced with spin. So that might be why. Not a native with technology. Yeah, but a lot of millennials are still good at it. Well, yeah, I mean, we grew up with the internet. Like, we grew up as the internet. Like, the internet. Well, I mean, obviously, the internet was invented way before us, like back in the '60s with the DARPA program. But the mass adoption of the internet happened through the '90s, and that's when we grew up. It it's like the internet was a baby, and we were babies, and then it matured as we matured, and it was beautiful and amazing. And you guys missed it. You missed it. You don't know the horrors of dial-up and wanted to be on the computer with the horrible things that were available at the time, right? Like it's not like today, right? There was no YouTube or anything, but just trying to do stupid little things on the internet, and then your mom yelling at you, "Get off the computer! I'm waiting for a phone call." Oh God, horrible times. Anyway, meanwhile, now you can be having a phone call while browsing the internet on your phone. How times have changed. Complete 180 there. Um, I'm just getting exposure by listening to the language and trying, right? Getting exposure by listening and trying. So we continue that ing because it's by listening and by trying, right? And trying to learn the vocab for now and just reading through some grammar. So I'm accustomed to it. Not trying to learn anything right now, but for words. But for words. That sounds very formal. We just say but words. Maybe. I don't know. Did I misread that? I'm just getting exposure by listening to the language and trying to learn the vocabulary for now and just reading through some grammar. So I'm accustomed to it, not trying to learn anything right now, but for words. So you're just trying to learn words. If you say but for words, that can be interpreted a number of ways, and it's kind of an archaic phrase. So it can be kind of confusing. I'll say but words. Anyway, yeah, and 3,000 kanji characters to that. Yeah. I know. There's more than that. I mean, you only need to know the 2,000 joyo, technically, which is probably joyo. I never paid attention in the romaji when there was like a line over it to make it longer. I never paid attention to that at first, and so I learned how to say some words without lengthening them like I should have. But I think it's supposed to be joyo with like long O. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The everyday kanji. That's still a lot. A lot. Good thing radicals get reused. Have fun, weebs. Oh, I will. I am definitely a weeb, and I will have lots of fun. And I will try not to, destroy myself in the process because of the pain of the kanji. I still can't get over it. I like how this basically has just turned into like a discussion of Japanese and random pronunciation of words. Like, where has the English gone? Which, by the way, I do have time limits to these, and I was planning on going in about 3 minutes, but I'll extend it by a half hour today because we're having a very lively discussion. I am going to have to go at some point, though. I'm not going to be here for 4 hours like I was before. Anyway, I still can't get over people in Wisconsin and some people near the Canadian border say flag and bag, like flag and bake. Yeah. I've noticed, by the way, I don't know if you've ever caught me doing it. Probably not because it's not common. But I've noticed. I don't think I ever do it in my videos. But I've caught myself sometimes saying it's not like beg, but it's kind of like it's like between beg and beg in a way, or no, not beg and beg. It's between beg and bag, where it's like bag, bag. And it's because that's how my grandma says it. And I notice that occasionally I'll catch myself saying it that way, only because I'm aware of it now that my grandma says it that way. I never noticed it before. But usually I'll say bag or, you know, yeah, bag, flag and bag. I don't think I would ever say flag. Like that's weird. But for the word bag in particular, yeah, because that's a pretty common word. I've also heard some people rhyme bag and beg, which is what I was taught not to do. Yeah, you're definitely not supposed to. Bag and beg do not rhyme. Now you can say beg because the egg endings, I don't think for all words, but which I know you're aware of this. There are some speakers, including myself, who will say either egg or egg for the eg ending. So like leg or leg. It doesn't really matter. That I think is a bit of a dialectical thing, but it doesn't matter. The whether you say beg or beg, it should not rhyme with bag, like at all. Like that doesn't make any sense. Definitely not standard English or standard American English. Even though I think you need an apostrophe there. What? Even though we're not the Japan fans, but wait, what? I'm so confused. But am interested in the language because it's fun. Okay, we need punctuation, sir. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be we're, and then if you're gonna say like, as in what is that called? I always forget the technical terms. Um, like right? Like what you're thinking. It's a filler. That's it. Yeah. If you're saying but I like am interested, that would be but I comma like comma. That's how we would write that. Otherwise, it's just like it's weird. I like am interested. So yeah, Korean is easier, but the spoken part is three times harder. Yeah, I don't have as much experience with that. I kind of really started with the script in Korean on Korean. Um, for some reason, because I was just like kind of drawn to the script, and I was like, "This is interesting." And I eventually Korean might be my seventh language after I learned the first six. um, but Korean is very interesting, and I want to go back to that at some point. I never actually like studied Korean. I was just kind of like looking at it and playing with it. Um, yeah, they mined well now that a gaming card costs 8,000 bucks right yeah, instead of one thing. Yeah, I know they're using the gaming cards for their capabilities. The graphics processing power and the RAM. Yeah, that's not the RAM, but whatever. Their special end sound has different pronunciations. It's more time, so it might sound like that. My brain was spinal for the first time. Yeah, spinal makes sense. Special end has what? Well, okay, so going back to that then, because what I learned, maybe I either wasn't paying enough attention or I just wasn't taught right. The N, like the N, which is that looks sort of like a cursive H in English. Um, all that does is it doesn't have to have a vowel attached to it because you either have a vowel sound or you have a consonant vowel combination, with the exception of N. I was never taught that there's some sort of special pronunciation for it or anything. Like, it's just the N sound, basically. So it'd be like na, ni, nu, ne, no, and n. Like it would be just the N without the vowels. So maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I learned wrong. But anyway, before I'm leg, yeah, exactly. Like leg and beg with egg. Well, that's because they rhyme. Whether you say egg or leg, uh, wait, egg or egg, leg or leg, beg or beg, um, all of them are technically fine. Although I think the standard one would be not a. So that would be I think a doesn't sound quite neutral. Um, in the bay, some even, oh, I see. Some even get to the bag and other parts too. Everything sounds like an a or an eh without the eh part. Oh, yeah, okay. So like a. It's like eh. Yeah, we do that sometimes as a reduction. Um, oh, you're on DSL. How are you on DSL? Like, you live in the United States. I didn't know DSL even existed still. Like, oh, I see. Yeah, I'm thinking DSL and dial-up. Yeah, I guess DSL is still around. See, in my mind, DSL and dial-up are like they're just both part of the past. So sometimes I think of them as the same thing, but they're not. Yeah, okay, that makes a little more sense. But still, like, come on. At least it's not dial-up. How do you guys feel about data and status? Okay, so well, data has two pronunciations. It's data or data. It doesn't matter. They're both perfectly fine variations, and I use both of them. It's whichever one comes out. There are some words like that. Same thing with route and route. Um, and I think the reason that happens for some words is because there's like the East Coast pronunciation, and then there's the West Coast pronunciation. Um, but because New York and Los Angeles are like the two big hubs across the country, we get influence from both. And some words, like some people will just say either way. Some people only use one. Some people say either way, and it doesn't really matter. Like they're just two ways to say the same thing. So for status, status, I would never say status. Like that seems kind of British to me. And it's probably not, but saying status, or it sounds like it's from Star Trek. Status update. Like it seems weird to me. I would never think of the word as an A. It's status, but I guess you could say status. There's probably nothing wrong with that. I guess I find it useful, but not sure about the average person. I guess getting a pre-built rig isn't bad if you don't care. Yeah, data or data, very nice. Status, yes. The Japanese usually use the British pronunciation of words for their own, oh my god, for their loan words. Well, I mean, that makes sense for various reasons, but also it's easier, especially with the R at the end, right? Because I noticed that, like, if there's like we're in American English, like we would say like water, right? They might say like wata, wata, or something. Um, so yeah, the British pronunciation adapting into Japanese can be easier for some things, definitely. Even for American words, a lot of them spelled with the British aspect of pronunciation. Yep. I wouldn't mind the 2,000 kanji required to read the newspapers, but the additional ones used in people's names with irregular readings and everything. I know, it's just like, it's such a mess. It's such a mess. Like, can you imagine, like, you can't even read somebody's name? Like, they have a name tag, like, my name is, right? Like, namae wa, and then something you're just like, is that this or that, or could it be this? I don't know. How do you say your name, sir? It's like, geez, we can call it here. We're just making small talk. Yeah, I know at this point. Um, oh, okay. Let's see. English. Wait, I think it's an SH. English. No, English. See, the little things that look like smiley faces were really hard for me to remember because there's the da 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 da, and then there's like the one with only one line, and then there's the one with the no line, and just the little smiley face part. And I never got those straight, but I think it's English. No, English. I don't know. And then Haksu. Oh, English hacks. That makes sense. See, I got it. English hacks. English hacks. Yeah, English hacks. Probably my rhythm is way off there, but like not that comes with bag. English. God, see, I one of the things that I hate most in this existence is romanization. Because number one, it causes some problems with the perception of sounds. But number two, it just looks so ugly. It looks so ugly. I hate romanization of Japanese. It's actually much harder for me to read Romaji than it is for me to read hiragana or katakana, especially hiragana. Hiragana is pretty easy to read. I hate romanization. Yeah, you're pretty close, Oblivion. But I learned the Korean script in a week, but I forgot a little. Yeah, I mean it's there's this like village in India that didn't have a writing system. I think it's in India. It didn't have a writing system, and they wanted to adopt a writing system, like a script from somewhere. Um, and so Korean was chosen because how the script works, as you know, it's like building blocks, right? And it was like super easy for them to learn. And so there's like this, I forget even what language they speak, but there's this like random Indian village that speaks some random obscure language that writes with the Korean script, and it's amazing. So okay, so Oblivion is out. I think your guys' patience is awesome because I just finally caught up, and that's probably just because you people are leaving. AT&T doesn't. Oh, Xfinity and AT&T don't. Yeah, have fiber for him, even though their neighbors got it. Yeah, so DSL is still everywhere, but yeah, fiber is more common. Yeah, I guess I don't even pay attention to it anymore. I'm just like internet. As long as it works and I don't have any problems, then I don't care what it's called. Will you say hi to the cat? Yeah, can you see the cat? Yeah, the cat's like right there, sleeping. She was probably moving earlier, but yes, I'll say that hi to the cat. Okay. Anyway, yes. It's 3:40 here, and it's getting hot in this room. I think we're gonna go ahead and call it. Good live stream, even though it's basically just about Japanese and Korean for half the time. Very good, good. Just completely engaging the whole time. Some weeks I'm just like, come on, guys, give me questions. I need things to talk about. So, all right. Um, my idle talk got to 2 hours. Kind of feel bad. You got practice. Yeah, there you go. Good job. Yes, I'll see you guys later. Thank you very much for coming by. And yeah, I'll be here again next week. Same day. So see you guys later.